There's a moment watching Eyes Wide Shut where you stop watching a movie and start feeling like you're living in it, like you walked through the wrong door at a party and now nobody's going to let you leave. Welcome to Screen Unseen, where today we're exposing all the movies that the elites never wanted you to watch, and the reasons behind why they shadow banned these films are probably scarier than the movies themselves, the dream you can't wake up from. Every filmmaker's goal is to immerse you into their creation, but not many films can make you forget you're watching one. Eyes Wide Shut is one of those rare few. It pulls you in, puts some kind of spell on you for 2.5 hours, and then, when it's over, you just sit there going, "What did I just watch?" Adapted from a 1926 German novella called Dream Story, the plot sounds almost comically simple when you break it down. Bill Harford is a wealthy New York doctor, married to Nicole Kidman, living what most people would consider the perfect life. One night, after an upper-class Christmas party hosted by his rich friend Ziegler, he and his wife get into a heated argument. She confesses that she once fantasized about another man, not even in real life, in a dream, and Bill completely spirals. He goes on a house call where a patient's daughter confesses her love for him right next to her father's body. He gets jumped by frat guys on the street. He runs into a prostitute named Domino. Then, he bumps into his old buddy Nick Nightingale at a random cafe, who lets slip about a secret masked party happening somewhere in upstate New York. So, naturally, Bill bribes a costume shop owner to open in the middle of the night, grabs a mask and a cloak, and drives out to a mansion he has absolutely no business being anywhere near. Now, here's what makes this more than just a weird night out. Every single one of these encounters gets stranger and more dangerous than the last. Kubrick isn't throwing random chaos at you. He's building a staircase that only goes in one direction, and each step pulls Bill deeper into a world that operates on rules he doesn't understand. Rules that you don't understand either, because this is where the movie stops feeling like fiction. This is where it starts to feel like a warning, and the room where that warning hits the hardest, it's full of people whose faces you'll never see. The room you weren't supposed to enter. The masked party sequence runs roughly 25 minutes of screen time. But here's the thing, it doesn't feel like 25 minutes. It feels like maybe 3. Kubrick so perfectly locks you into Bill's point of view that you completely lose track of time, and the entire sequence plays out like a straight-up horror movie. I mean that in the most literal sense. The lighting, the pacing, the way the camera lingers on things just a beat too long. It all puts you in a state of genuine dread that most actual horror films can't manage to pull off. A figure in a red cloak stands at the center of a room performing some kind of ritual with a staff and a smoking bowl on a chain. It looks like something pulled directly from a nightmare, and that's because, in a way, it was designed to feel exactly like one. The chanting you hear during this ceremony is actually a Christian sermon delivered in Romanian, but Kubrick had it played in reverse. That's what gives the whole scene its alien, otherworldly quality. He didn't just want this to look unsettling. He wanted it to sound wrong at a frequency you can't quite name, but can absolutely feel sitting in your chest. And surrounding all of this are the attendees. Dozens of masked figures standing in formation, watching everything in total silence. If you pause the film and actually study them, you notice something. Every single mask is unique. Each one has its own design, its own implied story, and behind every one of them is someone powerful enough to be invited into that room. The source video we're working from makes this very sly observation that this is, of course, clearly fiction and absolutely not representative of anything that has happened in real life, and then immediately takes it back. That kind of nervous humor? It's not a joke. It's a tell, because those masks aren't just set dressing. They're actually the single most specific piece of evidence in the entire film. Every mask tells on somebody. Let's look at what's actually on those faces. A lot of the masks are Venetian in origin, which already carries centuries of historical weight. There's a plague doctor, a direct reference to the devastation Venice suffered in the 1300s. But then, it gets more pointed. There's a mask that looks like Donald Trump, one deeper in the frame that resembles George Soros, and one designed after Illuminati imagery. You can absolutely write all of that off as coincidence. You can say Kubrick just thought they looked cool. But this is Stanley Kubrick we're talking about, the man who famously shot 70 takes of a single scene because one background detail wasn't right. Nothing with this guy's ever random. Nothing. And then there's Bill's mask. Out of everything in that room, this might be the most revealing detail of all. Bill wears a Volto mask, which is the most basic, common design you can get, and it's the thing that gives him away instantly. The Volto accentuates the eyes. It puts them front and center, completely uncovered. Meanwhile, every other mask in the room either distorts the eyes or hides them entirely. So, in a space where the whole point is to conceal your identity, Bill shows up wearing the one mask that essentially announces he can see everything. He doesn't belong there, and they know it the second he walks in. Now sit with that for a second. The film is telling you through nothing but costume design that there's a tier of society where the people in charge are literally masked, and anyone who shows up with their eyes wide open gets identified and dealt with. The title of the movie isn't just clever wordplay, it's the thesis statement of the whole film. But Kubrick didn't limit this idea to wardrobe choices. He built the actual physical location around it, the house built on old money. Here's a production detail that most people completely gloss over. All of the exterior shots of the mansion where the masked party takes place were filmed at a real location called Mentmore Towers. It's an actual estate sitting in Buckinghamshire, England, and it was originally built for the Rothschild family. Now think about that. Kubrick had access to any grand estate in the country. He could have picked something anonymous, something with no baggage. Instead, he chose the one with a direct historical line to one of the wealthiest and most discussed dynasties in the modern world. And he didn't try to hide it. He just pointed his camera at the building and let it sit there in the frame for anyone paying enough attention. The Rothschild name alone carries over a century of speculation and conspiracy theory weight. Whether you personally believe any of that or not is beside the point. The point is that Kubrick knew exactly what that name would trigger in the minds of people looking closely, and he deliberately attached it to this story. That's not an accident, that's a decision. So you combine that location with everything happening inside. A reversed Christian sermon, a leader in ceremonial red, rows of masked elites watching a ritual they'll never acknowledge publicly. The picture gets sharper with every detail you stack on top, but the person in this film who confirms the pattern most clearly isn't wearing a mask at all. The cover-up before Bill ever steps foot inside that mansion, the movie already shows you how this world operates when something goes wrong. Early in the film, during Ziegler's lavish Christmas party, a prostitute named Mandy overdoses in the upstairs bathroom. Ziegler doesn't call 911. He calls Bill up to handle it quietly. No ambulance, no report, just fix it and keep it between us. And the way Ziegler behaves in that scene is deeply uncomfortable in a very specific way. He wags his finger at her. He calls her kiddo, treats a woman who nearly died on his bathroom floor like she's an inconvenience to his evening. And she's the one who apologizes. That dynamic alone tells you everything about the power structure running through this film. The people at the top don't just control the situation, they control the reaction to the situation. And remember the man in the tricorn hat at the masked party, the one who nods at Bill. The source video raises the theory that this figure is actually Ziegler himself, testing whether Bill is an outsider. If that's true, and the evidence leans that way, then Ziegler didn't just find out Bill was there after the fact, he was watching him the whole time. The nod wasn't a greeting, it was confirmation. Later, Ziegler tells Bill that the people at that party were not ordinary people. He won't name them. He just says that if Bill knew their identities, he wouldn't sleep so well. And then, he tells Bill to stop asking questions, not as friendly advice, as a clear threat. It's the same pattern every time. Problem, containment, silence. And Kubrick made absolutely sure that none of this was up for debate by controlling the one thing most directors leave to chance. Nothing you see is an accident. Here's the detail that locks the entire case into place. Every single exterior shot of New York City in Eyes Wide Shut was filmed on a soundstage in Pinewood Studios, England. Every building, every storefront, every poster on the wall, every piece of trash on the sidewalk, every car parked on the curb, every extra walking in the background, all of it was physically constructed, placed, and arranged by the production team under Kubrick's direction. This is not a movie that accidentally captured something interesting in the background. There is no background in this film. Everything is foreground. Everything was put there for you to see, which means everything we just talked about. The masks, the location, the color, the ritual, none of it is open to the defense of coincidence, and the color system hammers that home. Gold for wealth, red for danger and desire, blue for uncertainty and unease. These three colors cycle through every scene in the film, rotating through wardrobe, production design, and directional lighting with mechanical precision. Red shows up so often that the whole film starts to feel claustrophobic because of it, this constant visual pressure that something is wrong. And then, when daylight finally hits the screen, it feels like someone ripped a filter off your eyes, like the spell broke, like you woke up from the exact same dream Bill was trapped in. You don't really see movies that look like this anymore, and that's not nostalgia. It's because this level of visual control requires a director willing to build an entire fake city just so every single frame communicates exactly what he wants it to. Kubrick wasn't trying to capture reality, he was constructing a version of it, one where every prop, every shadow, every mask, every reversed prayer points in the same direction. Stanley Kubrick died on March 7, 1999, just 4 days after showing his final cut to Warner Brothers executives. The studio reportedly made changes to the film before its theatrical release that summer. Some believe entire scenes were removed. We don't know what was in them, but given everything we just walked through, every deliberate location choice, every coded mask, every controlled frame, it's worth asking what else was in there that we weren't supposed to see. The last word Kubrick ever committed to film was a 4-letter expletive delivered by Nicole Kidman after 2.5 hours of secrets, rituals, and threats. The most meticulous filmmaker who ever lived chose that as his final statement, and then he was gone. Thanks for hanging out with me on Screen Unseen. Hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one.